Hello, welcome to our Lifestyle Chav Chat channel. So this is part 6 of Nuisance Neighbours. So I wanted to conclude what I was talking about, and the reason why I started these videos in the first place was because I was talking about how I was served an eviction notice for current property where I am. I was saying how I'm living in a one bed above the shops, and I wanted to explain how I ended up living in a one bed above the shops in the town centre where I am right now. So you can go check out part 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5, where I'm explaining about all the different places that I've moved from and to. And I was talking about how I was living in a high rise in Wolverhampton, how I was asked to go, and when I moved from there I ended up going to a shared accommodation back in Birmingham, which I've already talked about, and from there I moved back to Wolverhampton into a bed sit. But I knew that while I was there, I was not going to be there for very long because I was pregnant with my son. And the place was really tiny. It was like a box. There was no bedroom. It was just like there was one room with the kitchen side and a bathroom. That was it. It was really small. And actually it was some of these lofty, tall, old school buildings. They convert the lofts on each floor into different apartments for people to live in. So it was like this. There's many old houses like this along that road where I was living. But while I was there, the harassment, it didn't stop. The harassment continued. The thing is, many years ago, I wasn't even diagnosed. I've never actually ever been given a diagnosis, but I had to go through the mental health system because there was about 3 nights where I didn't sleep, and I developed what the doctors called psychosis. But I know myself it wasn't psychosis, but you know, they're the doctors. They have to come up with these labels and terms to identify and describe what your condition, what your symptoms are displaying. You know, they come up with terms to describe it, to put a label on it. So they said I had like a psychotic episode. I know myself it wasn't a psychotic episode, and I think it was partly spiritual, but it was mainly because I didn't sleep. I didn't get any sleep for about 3 nights, and because of this my mental state got disturbed. So but you know, they said I was having psychotic symptoms, episodes, whatever. But other tenant at this time when I was in this bedsit who lived underneath me, he was psychotic, and he did have psychosis. He had what you would call psychosis. And the thing with this guy is, I only saw him up close once or twice. Once was at the bus stop, and another time I was home from college. I was with my sister and we were coming out the door, and then I was going down the stairs, and then he was like coming up the stairs quite aggressively, looking like he wanted to do us something, you know, do something to us. You know, it was quite his manner was just aggressive, and it was quite scary actually, because we weren't sure like what he was gonna do. So but yeah, so on those 2 occasions I saw him up close, and there was just literally, his eyes were like black. There was just nothing behind his eyes, you know. So but I know that's something mentally upstairs. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he had some condition. But I just think he had some kind of demon. I don't know if he was a drinker. I don't know anything about him. All I know is when I saw him on those 2 occasions, his eyes, I'll tell you how his eyes to me looked. There's a lady, and so I was saying, there was a lady, she was on TV, her name is Jodie Arias, and she killed her boyfriend in Utah. And I remember when all that was on the news, and when she was in court, whatever else, and her eyes, like, there was just nothing behind her eyes. Eyes were just black. And that's how this dude, his eyes were the same. So what I mean, to look at him, he didn't look like menacing or aggressive, or he wasn't like you know, when I saw him, he could have just looked like some student. He was like puggy like this, some bald head, you know. He wasn't like scary looking, but I knew there was something wrong with him because behind his eyes there was just nothing. And so while I was in that bed sit, I used to hear him sometimes. Just, I don't know, I have no clue what on earth he was doing, but I could just hear, like, imagine, like, for example, it would literally sound like this, you know, this banging what I'm doing, right? But like 10 times louder than that. And to me, the best way I can it sounded to me like, you know, when you see these, you know, that corrugated iron, sometimes they have gates like this in that corrugated iron, and they may have like a door or a gate, and then they've got this metallic door in front of it. And you know, if you imagine the door banging against like the metallic door and how loud that will sound, that's what it sounded like. That was the sound that was coming from his flat sometimes. So I was he above me? I was upstairs and he was here. And to me, it just sounded like he was throwing furnitures around. It sounded like he was getting his bed or a fridge or something and throwing it up against the ceiling. This is how loud it sounded. Or as if he had some corrugated iron behind his door and was like slamming himself or slamming the sofa against the door, this metallic door or something. That's what it sounded like. And he'd behave like that, like sometimes in the morning, sometimes at night time. Another thing he would do is growl. He would literally growl like like this. Really growl loud. How I'm growling right now is like minuscule compared to how I would hear him. Literally growling. So living above him, it was just, I don't know, it was just an experience in itself. And then sometimes these people, like, they have odour, or you'll just feel like because of the way they're behaving, like I said, they'll usually behave like this at certain times of the day, like when you yourself are like getting into bed, and then you'll hear them starting up, and just the noise itself, I feel like your space is being invaded. That's how I used to feel living with this dude. Sometimes I'd wake up or I'd be going to bed and I'd be feeling like as if he was right next to me. It's very disturbing when you're living around people like this. People are just disturbed, and it makes you want. I just think that dude, I think he just had a demon. I think he had demons in him, and that's why he was acting like this. And I think sometimes people, when they're acting like this and then be getting labelled with these conditions, schizophrenia and this and that, I think a lot of, not all the time, sometimes they do just have a mental condition, but I think a lot of the time it's something spiritual, you know. And I think this dude, he had demons in it. I really do think that's what it was. So yeah, I was living next door to him, above him, and I had to keep getting log numbers to log his behaviour with, that was a Midland Heart property, with Midland Heart, and with the police. So I think the police on one occasion said, well, it's just like a neighbourly, we can't get involved. It's just a neighbourly dispute where you two as neighbours have to resolve the issue yourselves or something like that. I don't remember, but they said something like this, I remember. But it was important anyway to get the incident, get his behaviour logged with the housing. Because, you know, when you're experiencing these kind of things, you have to let the housing or the council or the police, you have to let them know what it is that you're experiencing. And in case anything happens, or if a situation was to escalate, you know, at least they have a backstory. You know, they know, okay, this wasn't just like a one-off occasion or incident or whatever. So that's what I did. But yeah, I'm going to conclude this video because these videos are long enough anyway. And so yeah, I'm going to do part 7, Noisy Nuisance, Nosy Neighbours. But this is part 6. So go check out 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5. And also I've been doing some videos of my area. I kept saying in the video how it looks quite downcast and grey. And then when I finished, I realised it's because of a particular filter I had on TikTok. It's making all the landscape look bluish grey. So when I edit it, I'm going to have to make sure that because it's quite colourful, it's quite nice to see, it's quite picturesque, the greenery. So I'm going to have to work some cinematography magic and in the filters, you know, when I edit my video. But yeah, go check out the other ones and check out that one as well. I'm going to be uploading those today, and I will see you in my next video. Make sure you like, leave a comment, subscribe and share my videos. Thank you very much. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.